Hello and welcome back to another Backflip Happy Hour. I am Ryan Fring, one of the co-creative directors here at Backflip. And normally this is the part where I say, joining me as always is John Shoemaker, and I do one of these, but he is having trouble because he lives in the forest. I think his internet's struggling at home a little bit, so he'll jump in when he's here. And that's just the nature of life. And that's why we love it. Ooh, as I speak, as I live and breathe, there he is. Can you hear us, John? We can see you. Can you hear us? Hello. Maybe we'll just have his pretty face on. He has no audio yet. That's okay. That's John Shoemaker, other co-creative director here at Backflip. We'll get this sorted out. John, you don't have any audio, but we'll go ahead and bring in our guest. We'll get rolling as John figures his life out here on the stream live for your entertainment. Joining us today, we've got Sarah Noonan without an H. I've been spelling it wrong all week, and I apologize. She works in the Wisconsin Historical Center, or at the Wisconsin Historical Center. I'm sorry. Social media manager at the Wisconsin Historical Society. She works on all things social. Before that, she worked at NBC 15 for 17 years. She has voiced several local commercials and even appeared in a few, which we'll get to that topic. And I actually started reading, instead of her bio, I started reading my Two Truths and a Lie that I prepped, because I have or haven't worked in the Historical Society library. So that'll be a Two Truths and a Lie later. But let's go ahead and bring her in. Goodbye, John. And hello, Sarah. Thanks for putting up with that nonsense.
Oh, no worries.
How are you doing today?
Good. So happy it's Friday. So
yeah. I mean, it kind of all means different things to different people. For us in social media, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like by Friday, I better have everything planned out for the rest of the weekend and maybe even next week, or I'm in a bad place. So there's a bit of a breath of fresh air at the end of the week.
yeah, no, that's definitely true. The other thing though, too, with the weekend is, I'm always checking our posts too, to make sure that everything posted correctly. There's no errors, the conversations is going okay. You want to make sure that. So anyway, so I feel like you're still, even though it's the weekend, you're still checking it in.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it's constant, right? So we schedule stuff through the weekend, and I do check, and you want to engage. So it does keep going. But this is a happy hour. So, we always encourage, we never pressure people to bring their favorite drink. And it can be anything from, like what I have, Clarb, got a little shake here, and a little cucumber melon, because you ain't shit if you ain't repping, right? And a little carbon for hard seltzer. But how are you staying hydrated today?
Just pretty boring, just water, but in my nitty gritty birthday mug. So.
Oh, nice. Do you have a collection of those?
Yes. Yeah. My son and I do. We probably have about 8 of them. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. We love to get those too. Let's see. John might be here. He's got an audio bar. How about it, John?
Good.
All right. I don't know. We'll just leave him there and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So good. For those of you, those of us who don't know you, why don't you just give us, a little bit of your story? You can, start wherever you like with it. I gave kind of that intro that you sent us, but, let's get right into it.
Sure. So I was born in the Chicago area, and then grew up in Waterloo, Iowa, and then went to college at the University of Northern Iowa. So my degree was in electronic media and marketing. And after college, actually during college, I worked at the local NBC station there, KWWL, in the newsroom. So I would go in on the weekends at 3 a.m. in the morning and work until 9 a.m. every weekend, my junior year of college. Yeah, so real glamorous. And then my senior year, then I would work evenings. So I'd work 3 p.m. till 11. And so that was like making calls to like local police and fire and sheriff's departments to see, if anything was happening. Also editing video. Back then it was like editing video from tape to tape. So kind of saw that evolution happen to linear. And
that early morning shift, how did that work with school?
Well, it was tough. I did it on the weekends. So, going out with like college friends till midnight and then trying to go home and take a quick 3-hour nap and then go into work and then take a nap when you get home. And sometimes you'd wake up and you weren't sure if it was morning or evening. So it was awesome. Pretty tough. So working in the newsroom, after that time period, I was like, you know what? I just don't think I want to work all these crazy hours, always have to work weekends, nights, move all over. So I kind of decided to get more into my marketing minor. And so a job opened up after I graduated as a commercial producer. So I produced local commercials and I did that for about 3 years and then moved to Madison, April 27th of 2002, so 19 years ago, and then got a job at NBC 15 in the promotions department. So started out, creating those spots where you see coming up tonight at 10 or coming up tonight at 6. So started out doing that, and then became the promotion manager and did that for probably about 9 years. So kind of working on all the marketing and a lot of the special projects like Crystal Apple Awards, NBC 15 Share Your Holidays and things like that. And then in 2015, I moved back to the newsroom and a job as a web content producer. So I wrote for the website, but then also did their social media. So their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and kind of built a lot of their Instagram. So that was fun. And then in June of 2019, this position was created at the Wisconsin Historical Society. So it was a brand new position at the foundation for a social media manager. And I applied for it and started in July. So this July, it'll be 2 years. So really excited. Worked in the building for 8 months and then was sent home. And so been home ever since.
Oh, no. Yeah, we all know how that is. Let's see, John, are you here for real or are you not here?
Yeah, I think I'm here for real.
There he is. All right. Co-creative director John Shoemaker in the house. Hey, John, how's it going?
It's good. It's wild over here today. There's a massive tea party happening for my middle daughter. Who's turning 7. Toddler, he turns 3 tomorrow, so there's a lot happening out there right now. So I'm back hiding in the back bedroom. So I was having connection issues, but
that's awesome.
Glad to be here.
Did you bring alcohol? That's the main question.
Yes, I've got the Priest, Prophet, and King here, which
another carbon 4. Yeah,
I'll sip slowly. Yeah,
that's heavy stuff. Yeah. So we just got the intro for Sarah, so we'll continue with that. I love to. You said you were a video producer at one of the stations. I love just that experience. I never went through it myself, but I know several people who have, and I feel like you become just like a badass video producer in a way that you don't necessarily do in other paths, because to different degrees at different locations, you might be more involved in sales in that, and then in the prospecting and proposing, and then in the execution, and then in the post-production. And so you get to see like the whole start to finish in video production. And I think that's super valuable. What was that like for you? Did you love that? Did you love kind of you having to figure everything out, or was it different for you?
I don't know. Like right now, I think I really have liked the social media part of it the most. But it was definitely a different experience doing local commercials versus news like editing and stuff like that, because you get more time like to work on things instead of like, you have 5 minutes to edit this thing together really quick. So so in the news, that's kind of challenging and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting. I mean, every client is so different to work with, and just trying to, get your head wrapped around that. And it was always so funny because people were always like, I want to do something unusual, something totally out of the box. So then you'd come up with all these great ideas, and then it would always just come back to the regular type of spot. So it's kind of like, oh, maybe one day I can actually use these ideas.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully you could keep pushing that, because that's kind of like our stick too. Like, let's make awesome. And that's how we pitch everything. And sometimes, most of the time people say yes. Sometimes they say no, we just kind of want the regular thing. But it's in that pushing and that asking that I think, you can really keep growing and feed yourself. Because if not, then you're just making donuts. You're just kind of creating the same old, which, unfortunately also kind of works. Like we worked with a car dealer one time who's like, no, we don't want creative. Just do the thing that we do, because everyone remembers us because of our ridiculous, commercials. And there's something to that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So now doing more on the social side, what's that been like when you started for those first 8 months, and then the preceding year, because it's kind of, everything has changed to some degree over the last year.
Right. So so those first 8 months I was inside the building, which I was really thankful for, because that helped me make connections with people and get to know people. And so like when I did shift to going virtual or working from home, it made it a little bit easier. So at least I knew who to reach out for if I, had a question about a specific thing, and, help build those relationships. But, I definitely miss being in the office and being able to, see my coworkers and bounce ideas off of them without like having to like, call them on Teams or set up a Zoom meeting and things like that. So, but yeah, the whole kind of mood just kind of shifted, because those first 8 months just trying to figure out. And they did a little bit with social media. They would post sometimes to Facebook, sometimes to Instagram and Twitter and things like that. But there wasn't like a, kind of like a strategy at that point. So kind of just trying to build that up. And then when we shifted to home, just kind of our whole kind of like strategy for the whole year shifted. And so it was more of a focus of like history is happening now, like big history is happening now, because we were kind of in that moment with COVID, and then last May with social justice issues too. It was just such a shift for history. So we launched a lot of really creative projects. We did a COVID-19 poster project where we had local artists kind of create those public health posters and would sell them. So that was exciting. And we launched a COVID-19 journal project where we encouraged people to kind of, either write or do a video blog or a scrapbook or a photo album, kind of like what they were feeling as they were going through like the pandemic and things like that. So, so definitely has been like a shift in the last year to like more recent history, like pretty much being in the middle of a pretty historic time. So,
yeah, that's interesting too. And I hadn't thought of it, that angle of, the historical society having historical perspective. I'm curious, did that play in to what you could share? Because it seems like that could be an opportunity, but it could be really, really hard as well. Like, here's other pandemics that have ravaged the, various countries, or, like how do you share history with also just not piling on top of it?
Sure. So I think like the biggest one that this would have related to was the 1918 pandemic, Spanish flu.
Spanish flu, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of how some of our projects started, is that researchers and archivists were going through and realized like we just didn't have a lot during that time period. So kind of just like, how can we make it better for future generations so that, when they search about COVID, like they'll find information. So.
Yeah. Was there any projects that came out of it that, like, did you share anything about the Spanish flu or?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, we did the thing called Then and Now and kind of compared certain topics in the moment of things that happened before and what we were going through now. So I believe we did kind of share kind of like about masks back then and kind of how we're, wearing them now. So kind of the similarities and some things that were different. So
it was probably more Renaissance where they had the duck bills with the flowers in the bottom of them, right? That probably wasn't Spanish flu, was it?
I don't think so, but
because what is that? Plague doctors. That's what it is. Those were plague doctors because of the smell of bodies. This got morbid fast. They would put the potpourri kind of at the end of that and then wear this giant cone. And it makes great horror films right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's been interesting in my experience. Like, I just feeling like doing social marketing in this time has been really hard because I guess you sort of realize the importance of the different things that come up in the news because it unlike almost anything else, this time felt like this is harder to talk about because I think people are getting tired of I don't really want to hear more about more pandemic stuff, more mask stuff. It's just like, okay, can we be done talking about this? And so versus other times when it's like, okay, this is kind of the current event thing that everybody's talking about, so we should also have something about it. I was feeling a lot of this with some of our clients that we do social media with. I'm like, okay, this is still kind of the topic that's out there, but I think we need to find something else. But at the same time, balancing the well, I don't want to just not say anything because then that seems like I'm not talking about the biggest issue right now. It was just really interesting, navigating all of that, doing as a social marketer.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of how we approached it too. It's like, we would talk about it, but at the same time, you just don't want every single post or even it to be repetitive and the same thing over and over again. Because people do, they do go to social media sometime for an escapism and people want to see fun stuff, photos of dogs and cats and kids and things like that. So, and it's just always so interesting too on social to just see, some of the times you post something and you're like, I don't know, is this going to be of interest to people? And then all of a sudden it just takes off. So last week it was the anniversary of Hank Aaron's first home run with the Milwaukee Braves. Oh, cool. Yeah. And that generated in 1,400 likes, just, which is super good for us. And then, people love gangster history too. I posted something about John Dillinger at Little Bohemia, and that took off too. So,
yeah, isn't that funny how, part of it is, I don't know, planning and the execution of that, but then a large portion of it is reacting and realize, going with what is popular. Okay, well, we posted these 5 things. 2 of these are ones that I thought would be really good and nobody cared about them. Right. But it's this 5th one that was almost a throwaway idea that we just had it and we got it up. And now, is that, how's that been for you?
Oh, but that's so true. Cause you can spend, so long, working on this, really great idea, getting some really cool, artifact or something. And you're like, this is going to be fabulous. And then you go and you're like, what? You're like, that's all I got. And then something else spur of the moment or something, or, a lot of times too, we'll react to things that are, happening in the news. Cause we have a huge collection for movies and things like that. So I think it was last year when Michael Douglas passed away. I just was like, hey, I wonder if we have anything. And sure enough, we actually did have some old photos of him in our collection. So.
Oh yeah. That's something that's gotta be awesome for you as a social media marketer is just having the depth of that content, right? Because for us, we, everything we do, we're take pictures. And then we can share that after the fact. But we don't really have a historical archive, right?
Yeah.
That goes back, I don't know, centuries. Let's see. How far back does the archive go?
Well, pretty far back. I mean, we are celebrating our 175th anniversary this year. So, which is Wisconsin's only 172 years old. So, but yeah, no,
Nice.
we have things from a really, really long time ago. So, and then, we're also still like, collecting things now. So, I mean, our collection just grows and grows. And then the other cool thing is, a lot of people don't know, but we have our own archaeologists that go underwater and do shipwrecks. So
that's a super awesome random thing.
yeah. So like that's the other thing that I'll never run out of content as far as for social media or anything, because it's like there's so many different parts of the Historical Society that people aren't even aware of. But yeah, so we have I believe there's 3, and they go underwater and they like investigate like the shipwrecks and do drawings and stuff like that. And yeah, it's really cool.
I love that there's enough shipwrecks and enough interest that you guys have 3 people who do that. Like that, it seems so random. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's I don't imagine like South Dakota, North Dakota have very many shipwrecks.
No, probably not.
Oh, it would be amazing if they did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so thinking about those things that no one knows about the Historical Society, I was trying to think. I have some experience with the Historical Society, and I won't tell much more than that because it goes with my 2 truths and a lie. But I know like the facility was open to the public, the one right downtown Madison, and there's also a library there in conjunction with the UW. What is the Historical Society and what does it do?
Oh, sure. So there's just many different parts of it. So, so we have our headquarters building, and that's the one that's located on campus, and that houses our library for the public as well as our archive. So people can go in and request. Right now, I think we're on appointments for both, and you can just like search our archives and kind of like look at stuff up there. So not all of our archives are in that building. We have another building off of Williamson Street that houses a lot of our objects, our larger objects. So like the original Culver sign and Green Bay Packers ice shanty and the Tommy Bartlett boat. So we have a lot of
that's awesome.
A lot of large objects. So there's that part. We also have an education division that works with teachers. Because the students in Wisconsin do Wisconsin history in 4th grade. So we have a textbook. And so we also do National History Day, which is a national competition with middle school and high school students to work on history projects. There's also a press section that publishes books and stuff like that. So there's a lot of books they publish per year. We have 12 different historic sites across the state that people can visit. So some of the bigger ones are like Old World, Wisconsin, Circus World Museum, H.H. Bennett, Wade House, Villa Louie, Stonefield, Pendarvis, Madeline Island Museum, First Capitol, Reed Schoolhouse, Wade House, Black Point. I think that's all of them. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like I'm only familiar with like 2 of them. All right.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got more guests from the Tea Party, huh?
Well, she sleeps in this room right off of this room, and she must have just finished her nap. I was like I'm gonna have to go back there and talk right now. Is that all right? Like, yeah, it's time for her to wake up anyway. So.
She can join in. Yeah, I love that. I only recognize like 2 of those locations.
And then there's also the State Historic Preservation Office. So that works with all of the buildings and houses that are on the state registry. So works on that. And we have an archaeology division. And then
specifically underwater.
Underwater, and then also not underwater.
Oh, okay.
And then we also have the foundation, which is the one that I'm a part of. And we're all the people that do like marketing and communications and fundraising for the Historical Society. So.
Yeah, very cool. What about it? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's sort of like a Wisconsin pride moment here, but And for all intents and purposes, like my home is Wisconsin, but I have a short portion of my childhood from a different state. And so
Mhm.
one of the things that I always kind of like thought was like, well, why? It seems like there's a lot in Wisconsin, and like it just is like, well, is it just that everyone from a state, is most proud of
Mhm.
their own state, or whatever? But it's actually like fascinating how much is here. And I was thinking the other day, like, why is that? Like, we were talking about, with another client and another project about how like Wisconsin is um, like you said, there's a lot of those sites that you were mentioning.
Mhm.
There's also like on the religious side, it's the only apparition site, approved apparition site like in the United States. I was like, why in Wisconsin are all these things here? And then I was
Glaciers.
realizing, well, it's
Glacier.
like the travel route, like the travel route through the Great Lakes and then down through the rivers. It was like, you think of like New York, you think of New Orleans, um, and then maybe like the coast on the
Yeah, any port
western
town.
coast.
Yeah.
But if you were doing any sort of travel, it was kind of like your easiest route before the railroads and stuff, taking waterways. It was as far as you could get before you had to jump off and like
Mhm.
either connect to the rivers or like just start taking a wagon across the nothingness of
Yeah.
the Great Plains. So like there's a high concentration of like activity, like historically speaking. I'm probably just saying things that more than I do, but it was just kind of a fascinating realization, like, okay, wow, so I can actually I have pride more than just like, well, I live here and so that's why it's cool. Actually, it's
Mhm.
cool for other reasons too.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think too. I mean, there's just such a rich Native history too that we're just starting, to learn a lot more. Because I know, like UW campus is on Ho Chunk land, so
Hmm.
and I do believe, give tours, and you can learn more about that too through the university. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of really interesting things in Wisconsin. So,
Yeah, that's really cool. We have a client who he himself is half Native American, and we work on these projects, kind of telling these native stories, which is fascinating and awesome. How much in the Wisconsin Historical Society, like, what do you guys have that's native or native focused?
Sure. So we do have one of my coworkers, Rebecca, and she works with the tribes, like as in communications and stuff like that. So some of like we're just working more on building those relationships so that we can be better partners and stuff like that. So yeah, so our safe room, or not our safe room, but our safe building, that's what we call it, that stores a lot of our larger objects. We actually
Mhm.
have a room, a Native American room, so that some of the objects, um, you know, um, tribal members can come and get some of those objects. So
What do you mean? Get some of them? They can like
like
take
perform
them?
like perform ceremonies and things like that. So
Oh, okay,
yeah.
awesome. So you guys kind of hold on to those um, historical objects, but they can use them.
Yeah, but I think also we're trying to work on maybe possibly, handing some of those items back too as well.
Oh,
So,
sure.
because some of them, you're not really quite sure on like how did we obtain those, because it happened so long ago. So,
Right, right. Yeah, 100 years ago is probably taken.
yeah, which could be the case.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we've learned a lot. I've actually written some training, some Native American sensitivity training, which has been very illuminating. And
Mhm.
that'd be a fascinating thing to see too within the historical society. Like you said, Wisconsin celebrating 172, the society being 175 years old. But then, like, what did the previous couple hundred years look like here?
Mhm.
That'd be a cool exhibit to have. I would visit
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. So what do you love history, or is it the social media side that got you into this position?
Yeah, I kind of like both. I mean, definitely the social media, but I've always been somebody who loves to learn. So like, it's just really exciting for me to like learn about a lot of different things. And I just love learning. So I think that's it. So.
Yeah. What's like the coolest thing you've learned?
Oh, I don't know. That's hard.
Put you right on the spot.
I know you did put me right on the spot. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Sure. Let's see, John, what's the coolest thing about Wisconsin that you can think of?
Oh,
Aside from the fact that you're here.
it's the waterways. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have an answer for this, but I can't think of it right now.
Ooh.
I should be better at this. My wife homeschools our kids, and one of the co-op programs that they use, there's like, you know, there's material that they all use, but then each like program comes up with their own way to do their state specific stuff. And there's a lot of like memory verses and stuff for those younger grades where you're just like memorizing facts. So my wife actually wrote like, I forget how many, like a series of songs, several of them with like Wisconsin timeline stuff. So like there's I'm always hearing these like facts being sung around the house of like,
Oh.
uh, John La Follette and whoever, like these early explorers that showed up here and founded all these different things. So I don't have one that's jumping to my mind right now, but I don't know. I think it's just cool. Like we think a lot about the East Coast and the Pilgrims and the early like settlements there, but like apart from the stuff that kind of started there, like the next pretty close to that is like early settlements in Wisconsin coming off of Green Bay and wherever they could connect to a waterway off of the Great Lakes. I think that's cool. I don't know what the sites are, but the coolest thing.
Yeah, the glaciers, the history of the glaciers are fantastic, are super interesting to me. We were talking about it with some friends the other day, and that's really cool to see like the flat area, and then as soon as you get west of Madison, right, or further south, it's so hilly, and that being a byproduct of the glaciers, moving in the way that they move, and then receding and going away, which it's hard to think on that scale. Like you're told that, and you can see pictures kind of, but it still doesn't make sense. I think that's fascinating. And just looking at like a geographical map and seeing like the topography, I don't know, that's kind of like mind blowing. Cause what was that, like 10,000, 20,000 years ago or something? Like not that long ago. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Isn't that cool? I mean, to us, it's long, but like in the terms of human history and the history of the earth, like that's fascinating. You don't get that in too many places.
Everything happened here. Everything converged. Everything's connected in Wisconsin.
It's the best place to be.
There's definitely a lot of pride.
Are you connected with Travel Wisconsin at all? Like the Department of Tourism?
They would be like another state agency, things like that. I mean, sometimes I'll share some of their content on social and things like that. So
sure. I was just wondering if they had any, if they ever come to you for like, hey, we're looking for more stuff to, because I was just thinking like, oh yeah, we're coming up with a model right now for Wisconsin, but they've already working on their own.
Yeah, they're like, we have to promote the glaciers.
It would be good to partner. I feel like just this whole like last year, it's just kind of like, kind of changed everyone's lives a little bit.
Yeah. So are you guys all remote right now? And you said, I think at the archive or the library, you can get in with appointments. Like,
Yeah, so the library and the archives you can get in with appointments. I think we're at 25% capacity. So, there's some people that can't do their job remotely, so they need to go in. So, and then over the summer, we'll all be kind of shifting to come back. So,
Is that mostly self-imposed? Because 25%, that sounds less than any like the Dane County order or anything in
yeah, so
Wisconsin.
we follow the state guidelines from DOA. So
Oh,
they're the
okay.
ones that set those guidelines, and then that's what we follow. So
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. How's that been? Being remote. Obviously, social. It's probably a lot easier than working with the library or the archival
right.
objects, right?
Right. Yeah, no, it's funny because I joke because like I pretty much could do my whole job on my phone pretty much. I have like all my, I have like Teams on there. I have my Facebook, all my apps, my Creator Studio for Facebook and things like that. Like the other night I was in line waiting to get my dinner and I was like, uploading an Instagram story while I was in line and things like that. So, so yeah, I mean, as far as being able to like you can totally do that like remotely and things like that. So I just miss the like, seeing your coworkers and seeing people and
the human interaction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think we all have that experience of Zoom fatigue where you're like on meetings all day for 8 hours. So
yeah, that's why we drink during these.
Clearly, I've just given up because I'm back here. You're just looking at my closet. It's like I don't even care anymore.
You're comfy though. That's the most important thing with a happy hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing too. Oh, the other thing too, I forgot to mention is another part of us is that we also have a local history outreach program. So that works with a whole bunch of like other like county historical societies and like other museums throughout the state too. So
I was going to ask you had mentioned, working off of your phone or just like the tools that you have on there. What kind of tools do you use to manage your stuff? Like I've been, it's been more of a recent foray into this for me in our company, and I'm always like, fighting with different tools, trying to get them to work the way that I want, and
yeah.
changing my mind about different things. What have you found that works?
Oh, sure. So what I use for Facebook, I just use their Creator Studio, which is free. And that for scheduling for Facebook and Instagram, it works really well. And I get some analytics off that. And then for Twitter, I use Hootsuite. It's kind of like a small paid program thing for that. And that works for scheduling my tweets. And then LinkedIn doesn't seem to be working with Hootsuite very well. So I just post that to those pages. So yeah.
Do you manage like a master spreadsheet or something, or how do you coordinate all that?
I have different like calendars and stuff like that. I have like monthly calendars of ideas. And then like every one of our sites has a Facebook page. And so people at the site handle those pages. And so every month I send them kind of a list of ideas so that they can, come up with some content. But yeah, I have like monthly calendars and then I have like my weekly planning calendars because I try to stay a week ahead, but like, sometimes that doesn't happen. And sometimes, you have to shift things around. So.
Yeah, we try to get a week ahead at the beginning of the week and sometimes 2 weeks ahead. But like you were saying earlier, you do like to react to what's going on. And part of the reason there is the popularity of it, right? So something is a hot topic right now. Let's also join the conversation because people who enjoy our stuff will enjoy us speaking about this in some way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So.
Yeah. I wonder too, with the phone, some of it you have to use them. I think like LinkedIn now has stories. I'm not aware of other tools that can post to that. And same thing with like Instagram stories, except for like Facebook Creator Studio. So it's kind of annoying because I feel like several years ago we could use Hootsuite to do everything. And now, like, John uses Sendable to work with a client, and we use HubSpot, which only gets us maybe 80%, 85% of the places we need to be. And then we got to do some manually. So technology, it feels like it's sometimes getting better and sometimes taking a few steps back.
Oh yeah, and then some of those programs, I mean, I've looked into some other programs for like social media management tools and for analytics, but they get really pricey. So
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
all the individual platforms are also they want people using that platform. They want you on that platform. So they don't make it easy for the other
Right.
tools, the like aggregators. So then they update something, and then it's slow for the aggregator to get that like implemented. I don't know. I don't know why they don't make it easier for digital marketers to connect into it with these different tools, because I don't see how that hurts them. Like, we're pushing content to their platforms. It's like, I want to be able to use something that I can keep my things organized, and I don't know. But yeah, that's the ongoing challenge of like working in, to use a, canned phrase, just like it's cutting edge technology, because they're always like, it's always the latest update. It's like a new update, and you're like, so literally I've got to like relearn how to do the thing and then interact with some new tool that they just added, and then figure, like, stories are not a new thing, but like they're new on LinkedIn. We just heard that the other day from one of our colleagues. She's like, oh yeah, we should be putting this on LinkedIn. They have stories now. We're like, oh my gosh, now I got another thing I got to figure out.
Well, and I feel like too with like Facebook, I mean, I swear every like few weeks something changes on it. So it's like constant. Like sometimes I'll search
they like
for,
move a menu item. Oh my gosh.
and like sometimes you'll go in to like look at some type of analytic and you're like, this is where I used to go. Why is it not showing up now? And then it takes you forever to like learn where the new place is. So
yeah, there's definitely certain things too, like using software. I'm like, oh, am I just getting older because I'm getting crotchety about this? But with like Facebook and YouTube, they constantly, or Google. Oh, that's great, John. That killed him.
yeah.
With YouTube and Facebook, they're constantly changing those things. And like, I don't know if you have your like code generator for login set up, like two-factor authentication.
Oh
But
yeah.
at one point, it was just gone from my phone. Like, it was gone through my menu. And so then I'd have to be like, no, I can't use that. You got to text me. And likewise, like user permissions, I feel like there's 3 different ways to do it. There's different levels. There's like Facebook, page manager, business manager. And if you give it over here and don't do it over here, like, boy.
I know, it's because it's a thing like with ad manager, you can see it through like the creator studio, but then you can see it through business manager. So it's, but I know
And
like
people have different permissions.
Right, exactly. And I know too, like with that, what John was saying about Hootsuite, because like I would try to use that to schedule some Instagram post before Creator Studio like linked up our accounts, but it was so frustrating because like the photo sizes would either be too large, it wouldn't crop correctly, it was just like you couldn't tag anyone in it. It was just like it just was not helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it too is maybe they just want to cut down on crap and reshares. So each of the platforms want unique content on there. So we share a lot of things to multiple platforms, and we try to tailor it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But by and large, it's not hyper focused content. Like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook will get a behind the scenes photo with a little description from us. And that's, that kind of works across all 3. But like on Twitter, we're not necessarily throwing out 4 to 6 kind of pithy comments a day or something like that, or engaging. Likewise on Instagram, it's not always the prettiest picture because sometimes it's, those behind the scenes. And I think that's maybe that's part of the reason why they are difficult to integrate into lots of other tools. Like they're like, okay, we'll provide this API for integration with other things. But if you're going to do stories, you're going to have to use either the phone app or Creator Studio, you know, but we'll let you post photos from your other tools. So I don't know. They just want some control maybe.
Yeah. Well, then it's always so hard on Twitter too, with the limit of characters. So, you know, sometimes you really have to scale something down quite a bit. So.
Right. Yeah. That's a funny thing between Instagram too. And I'm not great at any of these. That's why I feel like I'm getting older. Here we go. I think John jumped on his hotspot. There you go. That's higher res.
Okay.
There we go. Everything was just exploding, and figured I would try it a different way.
All right. Now you're frozen, but we can hear you. There you are. What were we just talking about? Oh yeah. The limits of stuff like Twitter, and me feeling like I'm old. Like Instagram, if somebody has like, you know, this much text on Instagram, I'm just like, come on, I'm not going to read that. I'm here to see a picture and a 1-sentence comment. But I also might not be using that in the way that most people use those tools. And I get that. So like technology goes at the speed of light. So how do you stay on top of this stuff?
You know, just constantly like using it as myself and just like reading and researching it. And I have a 14-year-old son, so I learn about some of the new technology like TikTok and Snapchat from him. So, and YouTube. I guess teenagers are big on YouTube too. So,
Gotta watch that Minecraft.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys on TikTok yet? Has everyone
No.
like, because I feel like when TikTok started letting business accounts come on or whatever, everyone's like, oh, you got to do TikTok. You got to do it. And it's exploded and it's super popular. But like, I'm just like, I don't know if I got time for that.
Well, no, it's in our plans for the future, but you just can't like open it. I mean, get an account and not have a plan. So we have to kind of figure out what that like looks like, how we plan to use it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm curious with like that, because TikTok is something that like you got to be on there like daily almost. Like I don't know how relevant anybody is if they're only there once in a while, just because of the way that the interaction works with the user. So for us, like it was recommended maybe late last year, and I was like, dude, that's too intense. Like I could come up with a really fun, entertaining video every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or once a month, but like several times a week. Oh my gosh. Like I can barely write the posts across the various channels that we have every week, you know?
Sure. Yeah, that's true. They do take up a lot of time.
And you're trying to manage you're internal to your organization, right? But you're trying to manage the brand voice sometimes. Like, so with ours, we've got Backflip, we have our brand voice, and then we have some of our clients who are trying to speak their voice. And so that stuff has to be kind of planned out, but then it's challenging to, you know, interact with the more spontaneous kind of networks, like, you know, as I perceive maybe TikTok to be, maybe just don't quite understand it yet, or, you know, not quite ready to interact with the kids in that way. But
you sound so old. Not ready to interact with the kids.
Yeah, I just you know, like if you're just a kid, if you're a high school, you know, kid or whatever, and you've got your phone and you're just like looking at this thing and you're like, oh, I'm gonna post something, and you just record yourself doing it. But if you're like managing a brand, managing an organization or something, you know, you've got to like, you can't just do whatever you want when it like strikes you. You've got to like plan it out, but then you're trying to like react quickly, and then also like manage it as a work responsibility. You know, have some balance in your life and not just be like I've got to be like watching this network 24/7 to make sure that I'm interacting, appropriately.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say, but
Well,
but yeah,
and
no, that
I
is
can,
true. And that's why, like, we have you have so many meetings. There's so much thought behind some of our posts. Some of them are certain projects we're working on and things we want to, get across, and messaging and like campaigns and things. And then there's also, the other ones that are just kind of the more spontaneous ones. So
yeah. Well, and I think there's got to be some kind of balance, because timeliness, capability, and opportunity, I think there's maybe like a trifecta there. And learning to speak the brand voice in the simplest of things and the most complex of things, I think is what helps with success. Because like the Instagram stories, or like Tech Tip Tuesdays, I was trying to do some Tech Tip Tuesdays, and I did it. It was, interesting content, got some good engagement, but I was just overproducing them. And so we've kind of thought and talked about moving to a more dynamic, kind of instant or live version of it, which is much more easy to produce. So instead of taking several hours and thinking about it for several days to produce, I can do something live with, as much as 15 minutes of prep work. And that kind of goes into that Instagram story or Facebook story, LinkedIn story, that kind of methodology of like, hey, this doesn't have to be the most polished thing, but it has to be. And now I'm starting to hate saying this, but like authentic, right? Mm-hmm. So people don't necessarily need to see like me messing up our intro. Hopefully I recovered by being like, all right, here's why I messed up, because I read a little bit of one of my true, and that can be a part of the charm of a brand voice, as opposed to something that is, you see something once a week or once a month or once a year, that's got to be polished. But if there's 5 a week, it doesn't have to be necessarily as polished. It just has to be polished. It has to be true to the voice.
Right. And then I think too, it's like, it's just a big experiment. I mean, you just never know sometimes what's going to work. Cause I think it was about 2 months ago on a whim, I was like, I'm going to do this thing on Instagram, and I'm going to call it Where in Wisconsin Wednesday, and find some old, really cool, like shots from communities. Cause people love to see their community, like, in a photo or mentioned. And so I did it, and it's been, I mean, some of those posts have done really well for us. So
yeah. And like we were talking about earlier, I don't know if John was on, you just never know. And right. So part of it is just doing, like getting stuff out there and being comfortable with hopefully most of it, and a little uncomfortable with some of it, and then reacting. I mean, for us, there's lower stakes involved too, because, I don't know, if we share something, somebody might not like it. But our clientele or our audience is very narrow, very small. Whereas with you, it seems like there might be it might be tougher, because you are a bigger agency, you are a bigger organization, you have a much bigger target audience. And so, especially in this day and age, there's just a lot of sensitivities that I'm sure you think about, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think we're pretty fortunate, and a lot of the comments stay pretty positive. Coming from news, that wasn't the case. If you ever read any comments on news organizations' Facebook pages, it usually takes a really bad turn almost every time. So, so when I came here, I was like, oh my gosh, this person's actually being genuinely nice, like in their comment.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine, because like reading a news article, and then I accidentally scroll down and to comments like on Madison.com. I'm like, oh crap! Now I've seen the comments, and to some extent, you're like, oh, I have to educate this person online. And then you're like, okay, well that's not a good perspective to have. This is not going to be good. But yeah, sharing historical things about the place we live in. I mean, there's some automatic brand equity there, I think, because we live here and we want to be proud and we want to share in this place. So that's kind of cool.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Just a random kind of thought there. So in other kind of areas, like what do you like to do? So social media can be entertaining, but since it's a job, like what do you like to do? Do you ever get to put down the phone and like walk away and kind
Yeah.
of rip
So
that cord out for a little bit?
so I have a 14-year-old son, so we, do quite a bit together and kind of like exploring the state and things like that. I also walk a lot. So last year I walked 1,100 miles, so in 1 year.
Oh wow.
So did a lot of that and going to the state park. So I just like to be outside and, and go to movies. Before the pandemic, I would go to probably like 2 or 3 movies a month at the theater. So I liked that. Just started recently reading quite a bit and love to go out to eat to new restaurants and to hang out with family and friends, see new places. So
Yeah, what kind of stories do you like? It sounds like you like stories since you watched several movies and now you're getting into reading.
oh, so it's I'm really big into comedies. So I love like movies that are comedies, TV shows. I watched Schitt's Creek 3 times through last year. So
Oh, it's so good.
so yeah, definitely I think a lot of comedy is probably like my biggest thing. So
Let's see what kind of comedy. So, have you ever seen Letterkenny? That's some
I
weird.
haven't seen that one. No, no.
It's
Some
like
of my
some
favorite.
weird Canadian stuff.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it. Trying to think. Like my all-time favorite is probably The Office.
Mm,
Huge
I'm with
Office
you.
fan. Yeah,
I've
and that's
probably
been
watched that like 4 times through, and like I'll still throw it on.
yeah. Parks and Rec is another one. I was a huge fan of. And it's been cool because my son's gotten into those in the last 2 years. So to watch him see it. So yeah.
It's funny too to see how some of those shows like The Office are aging as well.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional, but like I'll watch The Office and I'm like, ooh, because I'm not a hypersensitive person necessarily, but I'll watch The Office and be like, ooh, you couldn't make those jokes now.
No, you're like Michael Scott would be in a lot more trouble.
Yeah, right. I mean, even then, we probably afforded him a little too much leeway, but I think that
Right.
kind of made part of the comedy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's see. I've seen people say this, and I've had some friends who say it like that movie theaters are dead. Let me get your hot take on that, because I'm a huge fan, and yeah, I'm curious as
Yeah,
a
I mean,
moviegoer.
I've been able to go to a few through the pandemic, but it was just a totally different experience. I mean, there's hardly anyone there. I mean,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think too with like streaming and stuff like that. The frustrating thing is I feel like every time I want to watch something, I'm like, oh, I don't have that streaming service. I have the other ones.
Mhm.
So,
They managed to they managed to game us. I knew it was going to happen, but like it was funny back when some of the networks were fighting back against kind of like streaming and stuff.
mhm.
And I thought even at the time I was just like, they're stupid for fighting against this. They're not gonna like stop it from happening. They just need to like make their own.
Yeah.
Well, now they've done it, and now it's like, great, I cut cable, but now I have to subscribe to this, to this, to this. It's like I'm pretty much back on. It's almost like I have cable again.
I know, because it's like I have Hulu Live, Netflix, and Apple TV. You think they're, and then I'll see something and I'm like, oh, I want to see that. And then it's like, oh, that's Amazon Prime.
Mhm. Well, and they get you too because you're like, oh, I want free shipping, and you're also paying for Amazon Prime content, so you got to kind of count that as
Yeah.
one of your services too. So I'm curious, like, what do you like about the movie theater? Because now, yeah, I mean, you can get a movie that releases the same day in your own home. Why?
Yeah, I
Why
think
go to
for
the movies?
me, a lot of it is that like at home I'm distracted, my phone's there and things. And I think for me, it's kind of like you go to the movie and like you're able to like kind of just like take a break from everything and just focus on that. So that's the part that I like. I just feel like I have a real hard time sometimes sitting down to watch a movie at home. I get so distracted.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like I probably watched more movies. Let's see. Did I watch more movies when I could go to the movie theater? Because it's tough. Yeah, like I have a bunch of kids and getting them all to bed and such, and then afterwards you're kind of exhausted. But if you plan something and you go, like I could even go before bedtime and just be out and separate. And I was talking to our editor here and I was like, yeah, I used to, once or twice a month I would go during lunch and go to Flick's Brew House and get some lunch and have a beer, and just there'd be like me and one other person, and I'd see the movie that just came out 4 days ago.
Yeah, it's just so fun, just that experience. What's the last movie that you have seen, both of you?
In theaters or just in general?
Oh, just in general.
Ooh, I'll have to think about it. You go first, John.
So the last movie in general that I just saw, we just watched My Cousin Vinny, older one. But
Nice.
I've seen like pieces of it, like on daytime TV over the years. I don't know that I've ever sat, start to finish through it. But a friend had recommended it to my wife and was like, "You have to see it if you haven't seen it." She references it a lot. Oh boy, there's screaming children outside. And
we can't hear it.
Yeah, so we watched that. We actually did go to the theater with the whole family and saw what's the recent
Soul?
No, we didn't see Soul.
Raya?
Yes, the dragon.
Raya and the Last Dragon. Yeah, the Disney one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, the theater experience is like, I've thought before, okay, theaters maybe they're gonna die away, but then I'm like, it's just different. Like, I have a decent TV, and it's like we can make popcorn at home and whatever, but it's just different going out. Like, it's still a different experience, because you could kind of make the same argument for like, well, are restaurants gonna die away? Like, why won't you just eat at home? Like, it's cheaper, and you can make the food, and you're just there right at home where you're comfortable. So why do we go to restaurants? It's like, well, because you go somewhere else and have a slightly different experience. So, it's not a super frequent thing for us, but yeah. So.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying too, Sarah, with like the distractedness, because like there's always something you probably should be doing at home, right? So you're like, oh, I'll just pause it and I'll go get a drink, and you're like, oh crap, nobody swept over here. Let me sweep, and then whatever. At the movie theater, that doesn't happen. Let's see, the latest. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. If so, that's special. My wife and oldest went to Waco for a couple days a week ago. Yeah, last weekend actually. And so I was like, I'm gonna watch a movie every night. And so of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, of the 4 days, I can't count. I do have 5 fingers. I just can't count. I watched 2 movies. So I think another night I just went to bed early and I was like, this is nice. But I saw Bill and Ted Face the Music, which is the new Bill and Ted film, which is really, it's not super funny. It's kind of moderately funny. And it's just more of the same, which is kind of fun. So it's very much in the same style of that nonsensical adventure movie from that early 90s or late 80s. I don't know. So that was fun. And then huge Mortal Kombat fan. So I saw that on HBO Max, which I don't subscribe to, but I get it for free with my phone plan. I have free, right? So I saw it on there, and that was a real fun one. They kind of realize what they are, and they add some action into it. So, yeah, I might still see that in the theater just to get the theater experience too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my last 2 that I probably have seen that have been really good were Promising Young Woman and Nomadland.
Oh, yeah. We hadn't heard of Promising Young Woman until the Academy Awards. And now I'm even more intrigued because it's just the snippets that they threw out there. And the writer, director, producer, I forget her name, but I think she has a story of like somebody asking her from a young age, like what she wanted to do. And she's like, I want to like direct murder mysteries or something like that, which is such a fun thing for like this mother, the successful actress. I just thought that was a really, really fun story on the kind of behind the scenes side. So I was like, oh, I want to see like this thing that she created.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Both of them were really good. So
yeah, kind of different, right? Kind of different emotions.
Yeah, very different emotions.
What got you into Nomadland? Because that's
that was more of like a
comedy, is it?
No, it's more of like kind of like a documentary, I believe. Like Frances McDermott and one other person were like actors, and then everyone else I think were real life people in the movie. So that was really interesting. I think there was even somebody from Wisconsin in it, but I don't know. It's kind of like the opposite of like technology, where you just kind of like leave everything and just kind of go out on your own, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes appealing, I think, to all of to some people sometimes.
I also think the movie-going experience has gotten really awesome in kind of the simplicity of ordering and showing up and sitting down. Because I also worked at a movie theater, and that was always like, okay, we're running out of seats. You need to go in there and help people get seats or help groups get seats. And you're like, oh, sir, could you move over? I'm like, no, I got here early so I could sit here. And you're like, oh my gosh. And now you're like, I want this seat. Boom.
Right.
Done. I don't have to talk to any human. And in fact, let's see, can you order on your phone? No, you hit the button. You hit a button and somebody comes and you can order and they'll bring it to you. It's like amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I don't want it to go away because it's such a special place.
Yeah.
We are live, so I've thrown up a couple comments. I think you got some friends jumping on and saying, hey.
Kathy and Terry, yep.
Yeah. So if you do have more questions for Sarah, please do throw those into the chat. We can answer them or just show your love as well. That's cool. But yeah, like what else have you been up to? Walking's probably a good hobby to have when you're not supposed to be, in spaces with people and around other people.
Yeah. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And then, this is my second year getting a, oh, sorry, my phone. It's like everything goes off, like my phone, my computer with emails. But yeah, this is my second year getting a state park pass. So I'm really enjoying going out and exploring the state parks and things like that. So yeah, the one thing I just can't get into is cooking. I try and it's just not something I enjoy.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know about yourself, right? Like it sounds like you said you've tried a couple of times. So yeah. And then just move on. Don't worry about it. Order some Green Apron or Blue Apron or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, HelloFresh.
Yes. Yeah. Do you subscribe to one of those?
No, I've had some of their meals before. And so every time I make it, my son says it's like the best meal he's ever had that I've made. So
yeah. Do you have staples? Because I feel like I enjoy cooking, but it's kind of like everything at my house. I can pick what I'm going to do. I can, do some work and excel at work. I can hang out with the family and excel at family, but there's not a lot in between that I can do, and so I'm happy to carry a new toilet downstairs for my wife who's redoing the bathroom, right? But I don't have a lot of energy to be like, okay, I'm going to spend, days figuring out how to do this, and then I'm going to spend more days trying to get it done.
That's my hardest thing with cooking is the planning, because I'm like, I just kind of like to react to what I feel like that day. So that's, I think, the problem.
Yeah. So what do? Do you just kind of have more simple things, kind of staples that you produce?
Yeah, and food from time to time.
Yeah. That's kind of been a fun thing that I hope stays around. Just drive up and they'll bring it out, or delivery's gotten super robust. So you can get like anything you want almost.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've never ordered so much food in my life in the last year.
Yeah, it's awesome. It can also be a problem when you start, you're putting those pants back on. You're like, oh boy.
Yep.
It's funny because for a long time, my wife really didn't like casseroles.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, I'm a huge fan of casseroles. I'm like, that's the kind of cooking that you do when you don't plan and you just like dig around in the cabinet and you're like, get out a big pan and just put all this stuff in it and
Mhm.
put the oven up somewhere around 350 and just leave it in there until it looks like maybe it's cooked.
Yeah.
Like that there's like a lot of like, it's kind of hilarious when you think about how these like dishes develop, because otherwise, yeah, you've kind of got a plan if you want to have a specific thing. But I think like my wife's pretty creative, so she'll just like throw some stuff together and start, cooking. Baking, on the other hand, is the one that we always talk about. I'm like, it's not like cooking. Baking is chemistry. You can't just have a little bit more of one
Yeah.
chemical and not the other, because then not
Yeah.
it's not going to work out. But
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, it's like the pancakes I made the other day. I put some protein in them and they didn't turn out as well as I thought. But I think I can modify it. But so I think that's maybe part of the fun. If it's fun, and not trying to make dinner and you're like, this isn't working, because that would be the worst, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the problem with it is like if you're not doing it as kind of like a creative project, the problem with like cooking and having it not work out is that usually you're like attempting to make some food that you can eat imminently, and if it doesn't happen the way that you expect, now you've either got to do more or go get some food, and now you're
Mhm.
hungry, so you're like fighting the the slowly taking over emotion of hangry or whatever.
Yeah, and I can cook when I have the ingredients or I know what I'm doing, and I very much enjoy that. But I don't. I don't always do the shopping. Let me say I rarely do the shopping, so I rarely know what's in the house. And aside from basic stuff, I can't throw complicated things together. So like my wife knows that if she's away for dinner and I'm doing dinner, we need to have the very simple ingredients and I just need to be told what to do. Whereas for her, she's very much like, I don't know. I'm not, I don't know until 4 o'clock when I'm going to look in the fridge and I'll figure it out. And then we have this amazing chicken and veggie and, a little bread or something she whipped up. And I'm like, I didn't even know we had these ingredients. Like, to me, I didn't see any of this stuff. I just saw macaroni and cheese and cereal. Like that was going to be our dinner. So I can empathize with that too. We are winding down here, as it usually goes. The time has flown, but I do want to play Two Truths and a Lie. I did prep you because we want to know more about you. We want to know some fun stuff. And just to give the audience a chance to, I don't know, wait a little longer, we'll save you for last. So
Okay.
we'll go. I'll start because I have prepped some and John probably has not. I'll give John a second to prep some too. So I will give my two truths and a lie, or my truth, lie, truth, or my lie, truth, truth, etc. And then you guys can guess. And then John will go and we'll guess. And then you'll go. And everyone at home can guess as well. And the winner wins. I don't know what you win, but you definitely win if you get the most points. So do make sure you're playing along at home. Let's see. Here we go. Let's get a title so people know what's happening. Here we go. Two truths and a lie. All right. So I've worked in the Wisconsin Historical Society library before. This was I was introing you and I got confused because it was mine. I've worked in the Wisconsin Historical Society library before on library things and services. I've actually chipped one of the marble pillars in the library once while studying there at the Historical Society. And we filmed a promotion for the UW at the Historical Society Library. So it's all very kind of related
Right.
to the library there.
I'm going to pick the lie is the marble one.
That's a good guess that I've chipped a piece of the marble. All right, what do you got, John?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Chipping the marble.
You guys are both correct. I should have gone with something simpler. Although if that was true, that'd be great. Yeah, I did. I used to work with a library technology group in Memorial Library. So we serviced all the campus libraries for the UW, for UW Madison. And so it was always so awesome to go over to the Historical Society because it's this grand building and, you know, the facility and the pillars. And then we're working on some like dinky little computer off to the side that it just feels like it doesn't fit in the space. Like there should just be large tomes that people write in, you know. And then we did shoot something there. Golly, when was that? 2013, maybe? That was a while ago.
Yeah, something like that.
That was great. The space, you know, the space is
actually,
so awesome. I want to film
one
that
of
again.
our librarians actually just commented. So
that's great.
Oh, nice.
He's like, I'm looking at the marble right now. Nothing's broken.
You'll never find it because I put some glue on it and put it back. All right. So you guys both get a point. Now, John, you're up.
Let's see here. I gotta.
But everyone got my lie, so I was terrible for this one.
See here.
It sounds like you're trying to tell a lie.
Just one more moment.
Or I did say there's no chip pillar.
I gotta see if this is actually a lie or not, or a truth. All right, I can probably get started here. Okay, we're gonna go with it. Okay. Here we go.
We're ready.
I have never been. All right, you're okay. Sorry. Here we go. I have never been to Door County. Okay.
Say it like an alien. To Door County.
I lost a shoe in Cave of the Mounds.
Ooh.
One of the reasons we bought our house is because of the driftless region.
Interesting.
I think that's.
I'm gonna say you've never been to Door County.
Let's see. So it's interesting. So the third one is you bought your house because of the being in the driftless region.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Number one is you've never been to Door County. And number two is you lost a shoe in Cave of the Mounds. I want number two to be true. I choose two to be true. Let's see what if other people are on here. What do we got? Put your guesses in. Emily says number one is the lie. Oh, I missed Laura's comment too. She said there is a chipped pillar on first floor, but not in the library. For the sake of your feet, I hope you didn't lose a shoe. No, I hope he lost a shoe. And Yeah, the driftless. The difficulty I'm having is I know there's lots of reasons you picked your house, and you are further west of Madison where it's hilly. So I don't know if it was because of that you picked your house. So let's see. Number one, you've never been to Door County. Geez, that sounds like, I feel like you should have been. I don't know if you've ever talked about it though. I'm going to go with number one as well. You've never been to Door County is, wait, what'd you say? How'd you say it? You've never been?
I said I've never been there. Yep.
Dang it. I think that's true though. Now I'm all confused. Okay. So Sarah, you picked one, right?
Yep.
And Emily picked one and Laura picked two. So I'll pick three.
All right. The lie is the shoe at Cave of the Mounds. I've never lost a shoe in Cave of the Mounds. You know,
Great historical.
It's entertainment value anyway. There's a possibility that I have an accidental additional lie. So I've never vacationed in Door County. I've never done the like Premier Wisconsin Door County thing.
Sure.
I'm not sure where this is what I was, because of my connection issues, I was trying to like look up and see like where does Door County go down to, because we did a shoot at Bay Lake Bank and I don't know what how far up that is. It's not like way up near the end, but I'm like, dang it, I might have been in Door County. but it's not, it's not like what the typical Wisconsin experience is for a lot of people to, go check it out. A lot of amazing things there from what I've seen and pictures that people share, but we just haven't really done it. Our house, we're way west of town, and I don't know whether we're officially in the driftless region, but I just love it. Like, you get out of town and you suddenly go from this flat to start hitting these like hills that just go up and down and bluffs and everything. And we just fell in love with this area over here. So we totally bought our house because of the driftless region. I think I had actually done before we got out here, I think I had done the Wisconsin Farmers Union driftless region renewable energy tour. I did a shoot with them, and we were like out in this area and west of here, checking out different projects that farms and areas had going on, and just fell in love with the area.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that. So let's see. I think Laura's the only one who gets a point on that one. All right. Now we've got Sarah. Sarah, what do you got for us?
Okay, so the first one is I've planned a party for Alex Trebek and the Jeopardy crew. I've traveled to 5 continents, and I have 31 first cousins on my dad's side.
Oh, these are great. Oh, geez. Yeah, that first one I want to be true as well. That sounds awesome. You're either really good at this game. No, I think you're really good at this game. Because that first one, I don't think that could be a lie. That'd be a very intricate lie, and it'd be awesome if that was the lie. But I want it to be true. And then you said 31 cousins on one side. Was number
on
3?
My dad's side.
And what was number 2?
I've traveled to 5 continents.
John, you should guess first. You're better at guessing.
Yeah, so I think I'm anticipating you being really good at this, and so I'm going to go with the lie being the 5 continents, because it doesn't seem that challenging. But and Laura's even affirming my guess here, because I was thinking, I wonder if you did you do something with the recent Jeopardy thing with, like, was that Wisconsin based because of Rogers doing the hosting and stuff? Maybe you were somehow involved with that. don't know, but you put on a lot of mileage when you're walking.
That's a weird line of reasoning, though, because Trebek passed away years ago.
Oh, the end of October.
Oh, just the end of October.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
she seems to know a lot about these.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the third one?
I have 31 first cousins on my dad's side of the family.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that could be a lie, but it also seems like one of those specific number things. The 5 continents just seems like just throwing another one. So I'm gonna go with that. Continents. We're going continents.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote continents too. You didn't talk about travel really. And I feel like that'd be kind of difficult to do, to get to that many different continents without really trying. But, maybe we're way off, which would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
are we
like to think
missing? Only Antarctica and, maybe didn't get to Australia or
follow-up
Antarctica.
questions. Yeah. Yeah. And the Trebek, like that sounds like that should be true. And 31 cousins, that sounds legit. So yeah, I'm gonna also vote with John and Laura that number 2 is the lie.
And you guys are correct.
We did it.
I wanted to travel to more continents, but I've only been to one, the one we're on. So
Nice. Well, there's still time. That's what I always tell myself.
there is. But yeah, so I was one of 33 grandchildren on my dad's side of the family. So I was number 30.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, my dad had 12 brothers and sisters. So, and
nice.
And so then as far as Alex Trebek, Jeopardy came for their college championship to campus, to UW-Madison in 2008. And so I was the promotion manager at NBC 15 at that time. And so I had to organize and plan a party for Alex Trebek and the Jeopardy crew and different people in the community. So
that's awesome.
I have my photo taken with them and everything. So
yeah, that's one of those ones too, where I could take, the last or the first one and the third one, we could take those and use those as well. Cause it's tough to know, somebody's in media. You're like, yeah, sometimes crazy things happen. Yeah. Like you planned a party for, Alex Trebek, and then the family stuff. It's like, yeah, 31, that seems crazy number, but yeah, totally possible. I think my mother-in-law has something like that right now as well. So those are good ones. Yeah. I think if I add up all the scores here, you win. So congratulations.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did my math right, but yeah, we got to get you out of here though, because you got a 130. Yeah. I did grab this, so you can check out Wisconsin Historical Society on Instagram and Facebook and likely other
Twitter,
places.
LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest.
Oh, you're on everything. I should change that. Is there anything else that you wanted to plug or share before we go off?
Just follow us on all those platforms. So awesome. It's been really fun chatting. So
yeah, thanks so much for just coming on and hanging out. And it was a blast, and I love it. It flew by. We'll have to have you back on again. We'll see when things change a little bit. Maybe we could have you in studio. Let's see. Coming up next week, we've got Eli Fema, Maitre d' extraordinaire, a Fema restaurant in Minneapolis. Following week, Father John Putzer, Carolyn Averill on marketing an international event. And then after that, some good friends. They're good friends too, but Father Scott Jablonski, Mark Ladonio. And then after that, the Hoffmans. So we've got a full lineup. Check that out. Anything else, John, before we're gone?
Make sure that if you visit Door County, make sure you know where you are.
Words of wisdom with John. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. So nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Bye. See you next time.